And so we are very pleased that the construction sector in St. Kitts and Nevis continues to be very strong and vibrant. Regarding land specifically, we are continuing to implement our land distribution policy, with special emphasis being placed on the 2007 Special Land Distribution Initiative and the NHC Housing Solution 500 program that we launched last year. The Special Land Distribution Initiative was created to promote the personal empowerment and economic advancement of our nationals through land ownership specifically. Although it was well publicized that this program had been specifically designed to provide land to those who had never owned land, the announcement of the program resulted in a flood of applications, many of them from persons who had already acquired land and who in fact had homes via one government program or another. To address this, the ministry was forced to develop a much more rigorous screening system. And all of this, of course, added time to the process. I am now pleased to say, however, that the new screening process is in place and the program is fully operational. We have created, in fact, what is called the Land Distribution Committee, which meets every Friday. It's a multidisciplinary, multi-agency committee that brings membership from the various ministries and departments. Central to this committee being the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Sustainable Development, the Director of Land and Surveys, and of course, yours truly in my capacity as the Minister of Lands and of course Prime Minister. And what we do, for example, we invite members from different ministries or departments to come to meetings depending on what particular area of activity the land is being distributed for. So for example, this week, Friday, we shall be looking at the distribution of land to small farmers. So the Ministry of Agriculture will have the Director of Agriculture and will have the Senior Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture sit with that committee. They would identify all the applications that they've had, the investigations that they have carried out, and then will ask the committee to allocate land for small farmers. Last week, Friday, and the week before, we dealt specifically with the distribution of land for housing purposes, so that the Minister of Housing, the Senior Assistant Secretary in that ministry, together with the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Housing, would have sat with the core committee from the Ministry of Sustainable Development, and then they made their request for lands for the various housing programs that the government is in fact pursuing. We also, of course, had the CEO from the National Housing Corporation, since we have to find enough land, enough house lots for the 500 affordable homes that we are pursuing right now in this program. I would continue, of course, to meet with the Permanent Secretary and with Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sustainable Development and with the Director of Land and Surveys to respond to the request for land for the Special Land Distribution Initiative, depending on the applications that have been received, and also land request for overall commercial and other major developments taking place in the country, since those applications would come specifically to the Ministry of Sustainable Development. Now, so that is how it is working, and to date, I must say, it is going very, very well. Apart from the original sites, which we opened up when we launched the program, we have opened up a number of new sites in recent times. We had, for example, Garvey's Westland Gardens Housing Development, 14 additional acres. Stone Fort Caribbean View Housing Development, 17 acres, and that is in fact just now coming on stream. That site was opened, I think, in December, November of last year, and we are now actively allocating. The Mansion Housing Development, 19 acres. Parkview Housing Development, Extension, Molyneux, 31.5 acres. Lodge Housing Development, and we now have, I think, Lodge Slopes Development, 11 acres. Cabbage Tree Housing Development Extension, 28 acres. Stapleton Gardens Housing Development, 41.61 acres. And this I just visited last week. The Stapleton Gardens Housing Development is a major housing development site. We have well over 300 lots available there. Together with these new sites that we've opened up over the last few months, we have, I'm sure, close to 1,000 house lots that have been made available. I think the program is doing well. And those who say that they can't get land is a joke they're really making. Overall then, as of January 31st, 2009, approximately 285 acres have been committed to the program. 1,395 house lots have been created under the Special Land Distribution Initiative alone. 500 have been offered for sale to SLDI applicants. 231 Special Land Distribution applicants have completed their surveys, and another 130 Special Land Distribution Initiative applicants have made payments for the land. The payment part is a bit slow. I have to do something about that. Let me end by speaking about land for commercial development as well. Government has created a number of commercial and industrial parks around the island in order, firstly, to stimulate economic activity throughout the Federation, as opposed to just the main towns that we've seen in the past, and secondly, to accommodate the need for land by various businesses. Commercial and industrial areas have already been established in Limekiln, in Sandy Point, in St. Paul's, in Phillips, in Keown, in Canada Estate, and in St. Peter's in recent times. Commercial land applicants approved to date are 632 acres. Commercial leases approved to date, 42 acres. Land for agricultural development now I look at. Land approved for leased or for rent so far for agriculture, 350 acres. And I am almost certain that this does not include those acres that have been made available to that gentleman called Wega Walks, who has moved his animals from the Southeast Peninsula, and we have accommodated him in the in the Old Road Challengers Stone Fort area up in the hills. Also, let me update you on what we call village freehold land. Remember that program that we launched back in 1995 when we took office? People who had been living on village lands, those who had toiled on the sugarcane estates that bordered those villages. We said they had paid for the land through their blood, their sweat, their tears, several times over.